All right, what's up everybody? Listen, we are about to go for a ride. I promised you during the SVJ review that I would take you for a ride and give you my thoughts on driving what is known as the fastest production Lamborghini ever made. So let's go together and find out if the SVJ truly is one of a kind when it comes to driving, how incredible it is, what are some of the good, bad, and things you may want to look for, especially if you're about to buy one, because these have become an incredibly amazing deal since this recession started, and a great opportunity for those of you that are following the Exotic Car Hacks way right now to take advantage of actually picking one up, which is why I picked one up, and that's why we're gonna go for a drive together. So come on in, let's go. Guys, so we're gonna drive out of the neighborhood real quick so we can go ahead and of course get a feel for the car. I told you during the review, it's incredible how the dash has been upgraded to really give you a feel for what's happening with the car, something you didn't get much of with the S. You just got that kind of race mode, but this is even in Strata mode, has kind of these control configurations here that really make you see what's happening with the ALA system and everything else. Now, one of the biggest complaints I have about the car starting just before we even get to the driving is really the noise. I tell you, a lot of people like the fact that they have a Strata mode, they like the fact that they have a Sport mode, a Corsa mode, and the ability to make the car just not sound as loud. I mean, right now we're driving in Strata and it's honestly very bearable inside the car, and I hate that. I feel like the SVJ is such a dramatic car, and I feel like the exhaust note just doesn't match that level of drama when you get in it. Now, I know you can do exhaust systems, etc., which is pretty, intense and not necessary all the time, because I think it sounds pretty good once it takes off. But now we're driving in Strata and you can hear it, you hear that pop and it's happening. But really, there is still not that much excitement in Strata, and yet it's not very drivable. This is where it gets a little bit weird for this mode for this car, because I feel like Strata is such a docile mode usually, and I would say that you just never are going to get in this car and want to drive it the docile way, so it's almost counterproductive. Now, I do understand if some of you have to be places like your neighborhoods have, noise restrictions, or you want to kind of be inconspicuous. I don't think you can be in the SVJ, so I don't think that that's really necessary. Now in Sport mode though, two basic things happen. The car becomes a lot more alive for the street, which is fantastic, and it sounds a little bit better, the valves open a little earlier, but one of the big drawbacks to Sport mode is it also activates the gas loss system, which means that every second you're on it, you're basically, as you accelerate, you're losing all the fuel at the same time. I mean, it's basically like just killing your gas tank. I mean, I can barely go like 5 miles and I'm already like basically 2 bars down, which is crazy, like to think it eats that much fuel, just not even in race mode or anything. So it kind of brings me to the next point, which I think it's really meant to be in Corsa mode all the time. Except that the only downfall to Corsa mode is then the transmission gets really, really aggressive. I mean, really aggressive. You hear it more. We're going to put the window down real quick so you can hear that. You hear it a little bit more. Still not exciting, still not spectacular, but when you go, you see, then you can go fast. You hear that. It's fantastic. It's truly fantastic, but again, I just don't get, I get the power, I get the shifting, I get all the things I want. I just don't get the excitement of the noise still. I just think it should be louder, just in about all around. So we're going to try and experiment a little bit, and we're going to disconnect the valves and see if having kind of the car on all the time will obviously increase the noise a little bit. We did this on my Aventador S, it helped a lot, and I think that'll make a big difference on the car in general, in terms of really maintaining its dramatic angle of what it is, what it's supposed to be, and so on and so forth. Other than that, it's fairly drivable. There's really nothing that prevents you from kind of driving this every day, except that I've noticed during the review, I noted that there was no glove box, there was no storage, and that is extremely inconvenient. Now, I fully agree with the whole, the car's going to be lightweight and be able to like run the ring really fast, but you also have to get to a point where you start realizing that if you're building a street car, most of us aren't going to be going on the Nürburgring trying to like break a record every other day. So maybe just leave the fucking middle like compartment or something so I can put my glasses there. It's very fucking annoying. And I understand the whole not having a glove box, but the whole like little compartment, there is no way that like tiny ass compartment would have caused some kind of aerodynamic issue or basically prevented you from winning, you know, the Nürburgring record as a result of it. So I just don't see that as a necessity to have removed it. There's also no cup holder, which, you know, one of the things you'll learn with the Aventadors in general is the lack of a cup holder will really bother you because you'll want to have a coffee or a bottle of water or something. But then the more you drive without it, the more you'll realize it's fantastic because it prevents everyone else from taking any kind of fucking liquid in your car and spilling it, including the camera guy. Yeah, he's laughing now because he knows that when we first met, you know, he dropped like 3 times his coffee on my door on his way out. And he just looked at me like, I'll just clean it, trying to wipe it with his t-shirt. And I was like, no, let's just go away. Anyways, so yeah, so let's just don't do that. This car also comes equipped with premium sound, which is fantastic. Like, sounds great, like similar to the Performante model sound system. It's just excellent. I think Lamborghini sound is one of the best sound systems out there with Bentley 9 systems. So I think they're both excellent for enjoying music while driving. Shifting is definitely the thing that has improved the most in this car from the Aventador S to this. I mean, they both have all-wheel steering, but really, you almost feel like you're in a double-clutch car with the SVJ. The only time you really are getting the worst of the shifting is in Strada with the automatic mode, just like, you know, it just doesn't like to go that slow. However, I can tell you, like, I can promise you that just driving normal, not even like fast, still gives you excellent response from the shifter, excellent response from the paddles, really, really responsive, a lot less jerky than even the S, a lot more comfortable than any other single clutch transmission I've ever driven. And I think it comes to what I always say, which is one of the things with these cars, with all these cars, is we judge usually the first year of something and we go, oh my God, the e-gears are horrible and this and that. And reality is they are. Like, I am personally guilty of this, where I said the single clutch transmissions are complete junk, right? And if this is the best and the end of a single clutch transmission era, then I think they've done a tremendously good job at catching, you know, what the single clutch transmission can do if equipped with the right car. Because I feel like this is as close to dual clutch as I've ever driven an SCT, and I think it's just phenomenal. Like, I think it just works really well. The other part too is I think one of the big things with the SVJs, it's hard for me as a person to modify. Now, if you follow me, you know that I modify everything I want, meaning I cannot stand the car that's stock because I feel like it's so common. Now, I know an SVJ is not as common as a stock Aventador, but it still feels common, meaning you go to a Cars and Coffee event, people go, oh, what'd you do to your car? You're like, nothing. Well, then why the fuck am I here, right? What are you there showing people, right? But one of the things that I think with the SVJ is just very difficult to mod is not that it's expensive or anything. Actually, I found the SVJ to be cheaper to mod than the regular Aventador. But the part that gets really difficult with the SVJ is that with any modifications, you're basically changing the dynamic of the car. And I'm not sure that I trust that. Meaning that when I did with the Aventador S, when I put my beautiful wheels, kit, and everything, the kit doesn't do much, but the wheels really, the weight difference and the size difference, that does hurt the car's driving. Like, meaning it has a very different feel driving. And one of the things that I think is the best thing possible in this car, beyond this design, which I think is insane, I think one of the best things in this car is basically this very simple fact that the experience is so exciting. And if the experience is this exciting, then it usually tells you that, hey, listen, the experience is so great that you don't want to alter it in any way. You don't want to change anything that makes it, I guess, less incredible, because that's the core of everything that's really good about this car. And so I think that really is what makes it fantastic of a car, is really that. And I think my only complaint was the noise a little bit, that is down on the fact that it doesn't have any compartment. The other feature that I don't know if I love or hate or can stand or not is that the rear hatch doesn't have any glass. Like, it has only that tiny little thing in the middle, and then the rest of it is basically open air. The issue I have with that is that looking back, many people will say, oh, you have a great visual of everything. It's fantastic. You can clearly see what's happening. Let me clarify. You can't see shit. So I don't care what someone says about like what they can see. I mean, you gotta be a fucking like, I mean, you gotta have like laser vision to see through that shit, because as soon as you look back here, as soon as you're looking physically back, the first thing you see is basically this like middle wing and ALA system flap right in the middle of the back. And so you have to kind of look around to try to decipher through all these holes what you can see or not. But as you can see, even in the cabin, the noise isn't that loud, and we're driving about 70 miles an hour now on the highway. So, you know, it changes a little bit. But I think, again, the responsiveness, we go down. Very exciting, very agile, lots of power in all gears. Even at like 60, there's a lot of power left. Almost every gear is brutal, and we're just in sports mode. We're not even going that fast. But there is a lot of power in this car, and I think one of the best features is the faster you go, the more the steering wheel engages in this dynamic way of getting harder and more exciting. And the handling creates the amount of G-force that I've never seen before. Like the amount of just basically you feel your entire body shifting with the car as you turn, and it feels planted. It's extremely agile despite the size. And you just don't see it outside. You sit outside, look at this car, you go, I don't know why it would be agile or not. It's so large. But when you get in it, you feel like you're driving a Performante. And so it's very hard when you haven't owned one to really look at it or drive it around the block and be like, how did this win the Nürburgring track record? You know, the GT2 would have smoked it, which I agree on the surface. But then you have to understand that you look through it a little bit more and you go, huh? Like after driving it a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, you start realizing how incredible of an experience driving this has become. It's made the Aventador a driver's car, something you just don't really associate. You know, I mean, I've said this in 100 videos before. You know, the Aventador is a stunt car, not a driver's car. No one in their right mind bought an Aventador to go fast in a racy, spirited way. Like you buy an Aventador because you want to show up and you want to tell people you're rich and you want people to know, and you like the drama and the sound and the effectiveness of letting people you're there. But you don't buy an SVJ for that, and that's where it's completely different. The most dramatic design they have, the most incredible looking, crazy Aventador is actually the best driving one. And I think that's how I want to kind of end this video, is basically telling you that this is an incredibly important car for Lamborghini, because I feel like this is the end of the engine era, and this is the best that they could have ever made the Aventador. And I think, I mean, the design is or isn't for you. I get that not everybody likes all the holes and big back and huge vents, but for what an Aventador is, this has basically taken the best that Lamborghini learned in modern years with the driving factor of the Huracan, the Performante, etc., and basically said, for our greatest final trick, before we have to go to an electric car, we're gonna put out this incredibly agile and insane driving experience Aventador, and no one's gonna see it coming. And I can't tell you how true that is. It's unbelievable, like absolutely unbelievable. And I just tell you that I would never, I just would never trade this Aventador for another one in terms of driving. Now, I can tell you that, again, it's a lot more driver-friendly than the Aventador S, but it's just, it's a whole different experience, and it's very hard to explain it. I spent a lot of time with this car beforehand, before owning one, and it just wasn't the same as just driving it everywhere and understanding and getting to love it more and more. But the faster and the more you push it, the more you realize how unbelievable it is, and you almost feel proud of owning one. So I'm just telling you, it's an incredible experience. I hope many of you can experience it. Make sure you click the link in the bio so you can take my free training on how you too could basically be getting into exotics in and out without losing any money, especially during this recession. There's going to be great opportunities to buy and make money. So click the link, learn the skills, subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all the things you do on YouTube. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.